Hey, and welcome back to the Rise and Recreate podcast, a space where we explore stories of transformation, healing, and the courage it takes to completely recreate your life from the inside out. I'm your host, Raechel Shannie, and today I'm joined by Meghan. Meghan is the founder of Soulgorithm, a virtual operations firm that blends soulful strategy with aligned execution to help businesses thrive from the inside out. She currently lives in the Dominican Republic with her beautiful 3-year-old daughter, and her greatest passion is standing for everyone she meets to live their ideal life. Meghan, thank you so much for being here today. I can't wait to dive into your story and talk about how you built a life and a business that's so aligned with your purpose. So before we dive into the magic of what you're creating with Soulgorithm, I'd love for you to introduce yourself and where you're at today.
Yeah. Well, I'm Meghan. I love that. I wrote that to you and I wrote it and I haven't heard it back. And I was like, oh yeah, that actually is exactly what I wanted to say. So yay, pass Meghan, like killing it. Thank you. Which I guess kind of describes the way that I am today and what I do. I was saying to you earlier that I'm always working on something. I think that's kind of like the biggest thing is that I have a really great system built for helping my clients and managing my life. And yeah, and I live in the Dominican, which is also just something that's been on my bucket list my entire life was to live in a tropical country or like a Caribbean island. So yeah, that's a little bit about how my day is today. Like today, I feel very like, wow, okay, I'm here. I wanted to make this happen and I carved out the time to make it happen. So we are doing this and I'm excited.
You did the damn thing for a
Yeah,
lady who lives by her calendar. Thank you very much for fitting us in.
no
So
problem.
take us back to what life was like before you when, living in the Dominican and starting your own business was just a little seed that was planted inside.
Oh my goodness. Um, life was typical 9 to 5 type energy. I have always had the entrepreneurial bug when I was 23. Yeah. I'm 34 now, so about 11 years ago. I got this job at an accelerator center in Canada that supported entrepreneurs, so like startups and small businesses in starting, growing, and thriving. It was called Innovation Guelph. It has a new name now, but I can't remember what the name is off the top of my head. But essentially, my role was the program coordinator, and it was my job to sit down with all of these new business owners and essentially like learn about what they want to do, learn about what their business is, and then connect them with a mentor. And I fell in love with entrepreneurship. I was like, wow, this is what I should be doing. Like, I should be starting a business. What am I doing? And I fell in love with the systems and the processes that go behind how you build a business and how you help it evolve into something. And I think that's when the seed was planted. My life was a disaster at that point. Like my personal life was just all over the place. I had come out of an abusive relationship. I had gotten myself into another abusive relationship at the same time. And I also was relapsing from a eating disorder. So all of those things together was like my life was falling apart, but that spark of this is what I should do. And I think the biggest blessing that ever happened was they lost some funding and I was the low hanging fruit. So I got let go. And one of my mentors said to me, you need to start your own business. So that's when I ventured out on my own for the first time, failed hard, super hard, and then went back to work and signed up for a postgrad in social media marketing. And that's where I met my first business partner. And we started Wildly Digital, which I've been running for the last 7.5 years. And we went on a trip together to the Dominican. And I will never forget the day of driving back from like on the bus, going back to the airport, going back to real life and just turning to her and saying, I'm leaving a piece of my soul here. And her saying to me too. And I'm not even kidding. That was the day that the world shut down. Like, that was the actual day. It was March 13th, 2020,
Mm.
when every airport shut down. And it was kind of like from that moment, I would do whatever it took to get back here. And 1 year later, we rented a house to try it out for 3 months, and I never left.
What a journey. And that is incredible from the time the seed was planted to where you are now. But it sounds like you were going through some pretty tough times with the relationships and coming out of, having the eating disorder. And I'm curious what your beliefs about yourself were and how you were able to shift those.
Well, when I look back on that time, I was very lost. I felt pretty worthless. Um, Everything was external at that point. I had started doing some healing work. Like, I had gone through an outpatient treatment program for my eating disorder that I put myself into, because I think there was a lot of denial around how messed up I really was inside, because nobody saw that from the outside. I always had this image of, like, this perfect person. Like, I was always the overachiever, the A student, the honor roll member, playing multiple sports, having multiple jobs all through high school, and yeah, like, typical overachiever. But inside, I felt completely broken, and I got myself into some really messed up situations. Um, like, really messed up situations. I'm actually in a book where I talked about the one situation I was in, but it was like I let other people run my life. I wasn't running my own life.
Mm-hmm.
And it led to dark, scary places. And I look back on
Yeah.
that time and, like, it doesn't even seem like it was me.
Mm. I feel that. I've got a couple things in my past where I'm like, who, I don't, was that even me? Like, it's so distant from who I am now. So for somebody who might be in this dark pit right now and they don't see the light and they are feeling completely worthless and they don't know what to do and they're just spinning in despair, looking back at the time you were in, what advice would you give yourself back then?
What advice would I give myself back then? Love yourself. Like, who
Mm,
cares about anybody else? Like, stop for a second and just ask yourself, do I love me? Do I want to love me? Is this reality that I've created for myself one where I can say that I'm proud and happy and in love with what I've created? And if the answer is no, then that's where you got to change it. And
mhm.
kind of be brutally honest, like, tough love in a way of, I think at the time I kind of just wanted to be rescued, but no one's coming to rescue you. You got to rescue
Yeah.
yourself. And as much as it sucks in the moment, like, 'cause it really sucks to have to pull yourself out of that, but only you can do that to really
Mhm.
cause real change in your life.
Mhm. I think that's where a lot of us get trapped is the just waiting for somebody to just come ha take a hand and just pull you right out. So, during this time, this is when you're working with the entrepreneurs and you're realizing, "Oh my gosh, I think I wanna do this. I wanna own my own business." And you knew you wanted to own your own business, but did you have any idea of what type of business you would enjoy running? And how did you come to find out what type of business you even want to create?
I had so many ideas. I I think that and that's the journey of entrepreneurship is the first step is going through all of the ideas. If you know you really want to work for yourself, you can make any idea happen, but it will almost evolve into what the universe really wants you to be doing, because that's what your true passion is going to be. So, like, I had an idea that I wanted to make expandable heels. So, like, a shoe that went from a flat into a high heel. That was like my first idea. And then I realized how hard that was going to be and that I'm not an engineer. And
Yeah.
it was kind of
Genius
like,
idea, by the way.
thank you. And then later someone came out with like the replaceable heels and I was like, see, I had the idea. It was a great idea. And it might still happen one day. Maybe once I get some seed funding and, you know, this business creates me millions, then I'll go build that shoe. But what I found out of that is that I had already started the pathway. I had always been in sales positions or service-based positions where I was working with people. So, you know, in that program coordinator role, I went through 4 cohorts of helping businesses like essentially go through this strategy that's called the Lean Business Model Canvas, which is from the Lean Business Model Methodology book. There's a whole theory written behind it by strategizer.com, which is a really great resource for new businesses that are getting started to understand what their business plan is and what their value proposition is. So, right there, I had already been receiving education that put me on the path that I'm on now. And then I knew I needed to up my ante. So, like, I went to school for university, I went to school for commerce, like business commerce. And at the same time was working a full-time job in a weight loss clinic where I was one of the top salespeople in Canada. And then I went to work for a gym before that where I went through their accelerated management trainee program and was managing a gym of 4,500 members at the age of 21. And that was right before I got this other job. So like what I had already done was building the foundation for what I do now. And that's what I found really interesting was like each thing I did compounded on top of each other to create this pathway for me because I just followed what I loved. I just followed the things that excited me, the things that ignited me. And marketing and sales were always something that mattered to me.
Hmm.
And I enjoyed. I like to be creative. I like systems. Like I don't know, some people think that, spreadsheets are scary and calendars are scary, but I like to know that this happens, then this happens, then this happens, then this happens. Like, I don't know. It's just what I like to do. And I'm okay with experimenting. So like it kind of makes sense why I would be running an operations firm where we don't just look at marketing, we don't just look at sales, we don't just look at social media. It's all of
Hmm.
it. Like what is your digital presence and how the operations of your company integrating in the digital world? And that's
Hmm.
like like yeah, I could go on and on and on about that for a very long time. But yeah, that's essentially me answering your question.
I love that though. You're so passionate about it. So you're definitely in the right place. I can feel the alignment. But before that happened, you did mention that you had a big fail and fell flat on your face. And I think that's where a lot of people stop when they do begin their entrepreneurial journey and they do have this idea and this big vision and they try it and they fail massively and then they run back to their secure job. So I'd love for you to take us through that part of your story and then what advice you have for people who are experiencing that.
Well, I did just that. So I was essentially thrusted into you should start your own business because I lost that job at the Accelerator Center because funding got cut. But what I had noticed when I worked for that organization was a lot of the smaller businesses didn't have the support that this Accelerator Center was giving to businesses that checked boxes, essentially. So, like the businesses that checked off all those government funding boxes, those are the businesses that we could help in that program. And then I noticed, okay, from what I've learned and what I know about how to, because I, like, as the program coordinator, I was running their social media, I was sending out newsletters, I was building email campaigns and e blasts and all of these digital things. So I started, my first business was called Go to Meg Strategies or Go to Meg Studios. And it was just social media. What I didn't know was how hard it was to manage your own money. So I'd get like I don't know, $3,000 contract or something to do X amount of months of work. But then I'd go spend it. I wasn't working on a retainer. I didn't know how to set up my offerings properly. I didn't know how to manage my bookkeeping. I didn't know a lot of the foundationary pieces to running your own business that can smack you in the face if you don't have
Mm.
systems and processes in place for that. And it got hard. It got hard to manage my bills. I was very scared about where that next paycheck would come from, and managing the marketing, managing the sales, managing the admin, and doing it all by yourself, and then also not having healthcare benefits. It just became this like overwhelming like darkness that fell over me. And that's when I was like, and also from pressure from my family. I pretty much was like, okay, fine. I'll just go back and get a regular 9 to 5 job because I don't have enough experience. I don't have enough training.
Mm.
I don't have this. I don't have that. And
Yeah,
I
here
walked
come
in
the
there.
stories.
Here come the stories, right? I walked in there and I lasted because I'm not like I was already in the course that I was taking for social media, my post grad in social media marketing when I went back to work. And it was like, I swear this is like the universe type thing, but it was like I sat there and I learned a lot working with that company. I learned a lot about, you know, working with large teams, and I was essentially running the marketing department by myself. And I was like, I'm not doing anything different. Like that's what it felt like. Like it was like this, I'm doing the exact same thing, but I have no autonomy. I have no ability to make any decisions. I'm trapped, essentially, was how I felt. And it was like not even 2 months later that I met my future business partner. And we were walking out of class one day because she was also in the same class as me. And I was like, we should start a business. And so we started another business. Like it was the exact same thing, just with someone else that felt really good to work alongside of because she was the yin to my yang. I had all the strategy. She was the creator. She had a background in broadcast and journalism, and it felt perfect. And now she's my best friend. And it was like, it was literally like, I think 2 weeks off the year to date of me starting at that company and leaving that company because I knew I wanted to work for myself. And it was just
Hmm.
stupid excuses that I made up to not keep pushing through. And that's what I learned out of that. And that's why I haven't given up now. Trust me, I've had more stuff happen. That's why I'm starting a new business. Like Wildly Digital just closed. Now Soulgorithm is opening because, life hit me and we had to pivot and change again. And yeah, it's not going to stop. Life's not going to stop. That's what I learned.
Mm-mm. So starting this new business, which is pretty fresh for you, and you have all of the things you've learned from your past, which of course builds your confidence of like, okay, I can really do it this time. And even with all of that knowledge and all of the confidence, fears still come up. Yeah.
Oh, heck yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
On an ongoing basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And have you learned
Yeah.
different tools to be able to let those subside?
Yes. Many, many tools. Um, what I recognized that, yes, I run an operational management firm. That's the I guess the 3D lens on it. But
Mm-hmm.
underneath that, there's all the energetic tools that I use and bring to every business that I work with. Around the same time that I was exploring and expanding what I love and how coming out of that dark phase on the personal side of going through all the, work stuff, I got my Reiki certification. So I'm a Reiki master. And when I did my attunement, the message that I got is you're not here to heal people, you're here to heal businesses. Because every
Mm.
business also has their own energy. They have their own natal chart, they have their own energetic field, they've received their own traumas. And it really is about having someone come in and clear that space to realign their energy so that they can grow and expand into what that business wants to be. And most business owners don't think about the fact that running a business is like birthing a child.
Right. It's
It
its
needs
own
you in the
living,
beginning.
breathing entity.
Exactly, exactly. It needs you in the beginning, but then it starts to get legs, right? It starts to learn how to walk and talk and breathe. And that's the whole journey from an owner experience into a staff experience into a customer experience. And that's what I help clients
Mm.
work through and how they effectively build the vision for their business, and then have the milestones and the pieces in place to be able to grow effectively so that when life hits you, your business can still sustain itself.
Mm. That's beautiful. So, how long ago did that find you? Like, how long ago did you do the Reiki and that message came through for you?
Around the same time. So it was, yeah, I got my Reiki mastership while I was working for that company before I started working with my business partner. And it was really understanding myself energetically that healed me from everything. Like connecting with my understanding of who my higher power is and how source works with me, and how like for me it's not about putting a label on it of source or the universe or God. Like they're all the same thing. They're all energetic, and I do believe in all of it. I believe in God. I believe in source. I believe in the universe. I believe that we are all trying to explain this entity, this divine energy that we don't fully truly understand, but it's unique to each of us. And that's
Mhm.
why I named my business Soulgorithm, because as I was working through Wildly Digital and discovering all of these energetic pathways that affect how we run businesses, being an entrepreneur, owning your own business, everything is right here. All of your inner work that you need to do, right? Like all of your, like, don't mind my language, but all your shit is like right
Yeah.
here. And you either have the choice of facing it and working through it or continuing those stories and patterns and, you know, false statements that we create for ourselves that can hold us back.
Absolutely. We love to put ourselves in boxes and then create the stories of why we should stay in that box. And our message to you is break the fuck out. Quit the stories, get out of the box, let it dissolve. And
Mhm.
so
And work
it's
on
one of those things
yourself.
that sounds so simple. Exactly. So what advice would you give somebody who's like, "Oh crap, I see it. The stories are right in my face. I see the box I've put myself in." What would you say? How do they get out of that box?
Take the courses, find the mentors, do the work on yourself, work through your crap. Like, just work
Mhm.
through it. One of the things that's really hit me is like, well, we're both a part of the same mastermind group.
Mhm.
And like, that has been a huge part of it for me. And then also, like, I took the Landmark Forum. Um, like, we're in Katie Blair's program. I've done programs like with mastermind.com. Like, I've done the Tony Robbins thing. I've listened to Gary Vee. Like, there's all of these different courses you have access to, and do them. Be constantly working on yourself. Be in something that gets you outside of your own head.
Mhm.
Because we get stuck
Yeah.
in here and nothing happens out there without us getting out of that cycle in our head.
I completely agree. And one of the main reasons I started this podcast was because I truly believe in the power of story and tapping into other people's beliefs and how they were able to shift and seeing a part of yourself in that and realizing, holy shit, I can do this too. So, speaking of I can do this too, I know there are so many people who maybe they already have their own business and they're curious about moving to another country. And so, I'd love for you to take us through,
Mhm.
first of all, how you really got behind the decision, how you got over the overwhelm of, oh my God, how am I going to figure this out?
Well, you could go back into quarantine and be stuck in your house. Like, you could do a little mini quarantine COVID style and, be trapped. Like, cuz that was essentially, it was like, it's like this pattern of trap that just kept coming up, but it was really like, I was like, I need to get the heck out of here. I can't live in Canada for the rest of my life. This is killing me. And it was one of those moments of like, what if we are in lockdown for the next 5 years? Can I literally live here this way? And it wasn't like I was running from Canada or anything like that. I was running towards what I truly wanted.
Mm,
And it's the first exercise that I get every client to do with me and when they work with me, but that was the first time I wrote a 5-year vision. And I wrote out exactly what I wanted a full day in my life to look like. And I was not living in an apartment in the middle of the suburbs in the middle of winter. That
mhm,
was not what I saw. I want to open my doors and see a beach or or a pool and be around sunshine and see flowers and be somewhere where my tropical plants can thrive inside or outside. And
Mhm.
that's what connected with me. And it was this aha moment of, I need to go. I need to change. I need to make these things happen. And I have it in one of my books. I wrote a pros and cons list between the Dominican and Morocco. And it was like, I know I'm going somewhere. Where am I going? And I wrote the pros and cons list, and the Dominican just outweighed Morocco like night and day. There were like 20 more things about living in the Dominican than going to Morocco, because Morocco's still kind of the same thing. Like, it's close to the water, but it's not that close, depending on where you are.
Mhm.
Here, yes, there's parts in the middle of the city, but really you can touch water within a day anywhere you go.
Mhm.
And being by the ocean was always something that I wanted. And it was kind of that moment where I no longer cared about what anybody else thought. It was truly me doing something for me and being okay with the unknown and not knowing how it was going to work. Because I'm not going to say it's easy. It wasn't like I came to paradise and life is paradise here every day. It's not. Still life. You
Right.
still have to deal with everything. But I was prepared for that. I was ready for that.
Mm.
And luckily I had a friend, like my best friend, who we were business partners and now we're best friends. Luckily, she's a researcher, like, loves to research. So she did a lot of research around where we should live, how much it was going to cost, what we needed access to, so that we were prepared. I was okay with just jumping in and knowing nothing, but I'm very thankful that I had her.
I totally feel that. I'm a jump in, figure it out when I get there type of gal too, and I appreciate those friends who are very resourceful because that is not my strength. So you're in the Dominican Republic. You feel like, oh my gosh, I've done it. Like, I have landed in my dream. But the funny thing about life is I'm sure once you were there, did another dream start to appear to you? And you're like, oh boy, this is what I'm going to do next.
Oh, it was like the island had its own plan for me. I was yeah, when I decided to stay, because we came in November and then COVID hit again and everything got locked down and we had to make a choice. I could leave a month early or I could stay and not know when I was gonna go back to Canada. So I decided to stay, and then this restaurant came up for sale. So we decided to buy a restaurant. No idea what we were doing. We bought this restaurant. And it was this cute little snack shack. It was called Trio Snack Shack. And we were going to make, like, pub style food. And it was going to be great. And then I started getting really sick. In the mornings, kind of midday, it would come and go. And I went, oh, shit, I think I'm pregnant. Yeah. Like a month. So we bought the restaurant. I started feeling that way. 3 weeks after we bought the restaurant, I found out I was pregnant.
What thoughts were running through your mind at that moment?
Holy shit, what the am I doing? Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And then I got really bad morning sickness where I was bedridden for 4 months. And so everything around me had to be run without me. And it was all I could do was lay in bed and think about, okay, what am I creating now? What is my life gonna look like now? I'm gonna have a kid. I never planned on having a child. It was not a part of my plan. It was like everything, like, I got everything that I wanted in my 5-year vision, and the slate got wiped clean.
Mm.
I was like, okay, well, here's these whole new scenarios to work yourself through that you made these choices and here you go. So we learned a lot from running the restaurant. It was, Kate likes to describe it as, we could have spent thousands on a business course, or you can run a restaurant for a year. So we ran the restaurant. We learned what running a business in the Dominican Republic is truly like, and how how Dominicans versus expats behave and how different the culture is here and how different running a business in the Dominican is versus running a business in, say, Canada.
Mm-hmm.
I had to make decisions on what kind of birth I wanted to have. I had to make a choice of, do I go back to Canada and do I go back and give up on everything that I've just created for myself? Or am I going to make this work? And I'm blessed. I have an amazing family that has supported me, and it's been hard work to work through those decisions because they fought with me tooth and nail about coming back. But they love me enough that they helped me be able to have a home birth. I did a water birth, which was
In the Dominican.
in the Dominican. Yep, in the Dominican. I had a midwife and a doula. I had my best friend. I had a spiritual person who was helping me balance my energy. Yeah. And none of that, I went from having all of these perfect plans to no plan of like, okay, let's just go
Yeah.
with the flow and see what comes up and what hits us. And that was super challenging for me considering I'm a structured person. But what I learned from that was you don't have to always, like, you can have a plan, but it's knowing that that's just an ideal scenario and that you can pivot and you can change that plan whenever you need to, as long as you're giving yourself the grace to allow that to happen. And
Yeah.
then I spent the first year of my daughter's life really being focused on her, and the business went to shit. And we pretty much lost everything, like, as far as income, but one thing I recognized was that the universe always showed up, the money always showed up, what I needed always showed up, and that just proved to me that no matter what, if you have belief in yourself, you'll make it happen.
Mm.
And that's what taught me, like, I've had it in my WhatsApp handle for years now, that belief is truly the only metric that matters. Everything else you can figure out.
Yep. I absolutely agree because it's you against you. And if you're betting
Mhm.
against yourself, well, you have to bet on yourself over and over and over and over again and believe. And something that's worked for me really well. And if you guys have read the Gap in the Gain book, it's looking back on your life and building that confidence through what you've already gone through versus looking towards your future self and comparing yourself to where you are not.
Ooh, I
So
love
that
that.
is really wild that your your 5-year plan came true. You're in the Dominican Republic, and then you literally just got slapped down to what the hell do we do now? And for someone who is so into systems and um, it sounds like you really tapped into, okay, I'm just going to have to release and tap into the flow. And I think that is a lot harder for people who would identify as like type A and they really like everything to be structured and planned. Is there any advice you would give somebody who's like, I cannot release control? How would you say to release a little bit of control?
More go with the flow time.
Hmm.
Start
And what is,
prioritizing your week with you first.
hmm and what does that look like?
So instead of, like, when we look at how we plan our life, it's always like, okay, here are the to-dos I need to get done. My job, I need to do this for my job, or this is I have to do for my family, or this I have to do to make sure I can put food on the table. But I do it the opposite. I plan, when is my free time? And then I plan, when is my go with the flow time? Because going with the flow means you get to decide what you do. You can work if you want to. You can rest if you want to. You can go to the beach if you want to. And then layer in the rest of your life.
Mm.
Because we don't have to work 50 to 60 hours a week to be able to live a fulfilled life. Maybe we do for a short period of time while we're building something, but if that doesn't align with you, you're going to burn out. It's not sustainable. What's sustainable is making sure that you're prioritizing time for you, prioritizing time with your family, and then you fit the rest in. It's not the other way around.
Absolutely. So, can you just speak a bit on what it feels like for your own self when you are in alignment with what it is you're doing, work, relationships, all of the things, what it feels like in your body when you're in alignment versus out of alignment?
So when I'm in alignment, everything feels natural. I physically see it. When I am in alignment, my hands don't flare up. When I am out of alignment, I get this rash on my hands. They're like little boils, and I can tell when I'm losing control by if I have a flare up and how often I have flare ups because I feel it from head to toe. It's almost like when I'm in alignment, nothing feels too hard. Everything that I'm
Mm,
doing, I'm enjoying. When I'm out of alignment, it feels like I'm trying to crawl out of a hole, like I'm
mhm,
just trying to catch back up. When when I feel that way, sometimes it's easier than other times because sometimes it gets hard, but like this call with you right now, like doing this podcast right now, I could have canceled because my day has been crazy today. It truly has. But having this conversation with you, I knew would realign me, and it has because I put myself
mm,
first. Regardless of all the
mhm,
other crap that's going on, this is what I wanted to do, and I was going to make sure it happened. Everything else will figure
mhm.
itself out.
I love that. So it's like when you're out of alignment, you physically feel the resistance in your body of, your heart, your soul, your spirit, whatever you want to call it, is really craving to do something else. And your logical mind is trying to control the situation and saying, no, this is what we should do. And for me, the should is a big identifier of when I tell myself I should do something. I need to tune back in with myself and say, but do I really want to do this? Is this what I want to do? And so now you are, I feel like you're living your best life over there in the Dominican Republic. You just started this new business. Are there other dreams and aspirations and goals that you have right now that scare the shit out of you?
Oh yeah, of course. Always. I want to buy a house here. Like that's scary. Like where's the money
Mm-hmm.
going to come from? Can I actually make this happen? Do I know like you hear horror stories about people owning houses anywhere. Like do I want that responsibility? Um I also have huge goals as far as like how many team members I want to have and how big I want to grow this business, and that's also scary. And I keep fighting the fear. Like it's not even fighting. Fighting's the wrong word. I embrace the fear.
I've embraced the fear and tap into the belief.
Yeah. I love that. Embrace the fear and tap into the belief. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's how you move
Mhm.
forward with all of it. Because everything in life, you can come up with the reasons why not and reasons why it hasn't worked. And then you can go find stories of how it hasn't worked for other people and you can attach yourself to those. Or you have the choice to go find people who have done that and it's the best thing they've ever done. I'm sure we could have a very intense 50-50 split on home ownership and people who say it's the best decision they've ever made and they love creating their own sanctuary and knowing that it's theirs and they can do whatever they want. And then you have the people who say, it was horrifying. I had to fix so many things and I absolutely hate it. I'd never do it again. You decide. You decide which person you want to be, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's always it. It always comes down to choices. It
It
always comes down
does.
to choices.
What choice
Yeah.
do you want to make?
Exactly, exactly. And knowing yourself, like know your history, know your ancestry, know what you're here to accomplish. Like I think the thing that I always lean back on is my last name is McNabb, right? So it's Scottish, and we have a family slogan that or like motto. It's on our tartan and all the Scottish stuff. It's Timor Omnia Besto. And it literally means let fear be far from all.
Whoa. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Decades of people feeling the fear and doing the damn thing anyways.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, and there's always, your power is within, and then there also is the power that you can tap into, the big external power. And for you, tapping into that lineage of energy of people all feeling the same way, that's got to be pretty freaking powerful.
Yeah. When I forget about my own strength, I just have to remember who I am, who I come from.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so true. I mean, looking back, a great thing to ask if your grandparents are still alive, if they're not, ask your parents. Ask your parents about the history, especially if you live in a place where your family came from another country and had to figure it out. A lot of times with no money, no idea, no plan, just the dream and the vision of this is what I see for myself and I am doing the damn thing. And for me, tapping into my grandparents' stories of how their parents got here was fascinating. So that is such a beautiful reminder to tune into where you came from. I really love that. So, Megan, what else do you have to tell the listeners listening for somebody who wants to start the business, who wants to move to another country? Like, what advice do you have?
Make a plan and start putting it into action. Like
Mm-hmm.
basic law of attraction. The third law of the universe is you attract what you put out there. Like you are what you attract. But we always forget about the fourth law is the law of action. Inspired action needs to be taken based off of what you are looking to attract. So it isn't just about
Mm-hmm.
manifesting and being like, oh, I'm going to manifest this by just thinking about it. It's actually, okay, I've manifested this. This is what I want. Here's the action that I'm taking to walk towards it. There isn't just one law that empowers the universe. There's 12.
Mm-hmm.
Go look them up.
Yeah. And tap into all of them. And you're right. It's not, I think there was a general consensus there for a little while that you could just think and things would appear in your life. And it can be simple, but only if you start to move towards it in aligned action. And then you do see your dreams, come to fruition and appear in your 3D world. But it does take work, it takes strength to get there. Like all of the things you went through, the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, that's what actually led you to where you were. It wasn't like you just wrote on a piece of paper, I want to live in the Dominican Republic, and then just appeared there.
Exactly. Exactly. There was a lot that went into the behind the scenes of it, and then also, like, sticking to it, like maintaining and not giving up on yourself. It
Mm.
all takes action and consistent applied effort.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Well, this has been such a wonderful conversation. Are there any last words you'd like to leave with the people?
Just that I do have a workshop coming up that if you're like, "Oh my gosh, I just need to figure out how I can manage my time best," I have a workshop called the Ideal Planning Method, and if they want any details, they can, reach out to me through Instagram or yeah, pretty much anywhere, but my Instagram handle is Meg Moments, and you can find me on Facebook or LinkedIn, or you can, you know, ask Rachel where to find me.
Perfect. Yes, well, and I will put all of your links in the show notes below. And also, if you're curious, because I think you have such a different perspective on business. And, if you're listening and you are an entrepreneur and you had the realization of, oh my gosh, my business is its own entity. And I am curious, like you want an energetic checkup, Meg is the perfect person for that. So all of her information will be below. I hope you saw a piece of yourself in her story. I hope you tapped into a bit of this belief that some of the tools from this episode have helped you and you realize that you really can recreate your life anytime you want. So thank you all for listening.